So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. I will move on to the Secretary's report with the September and October administrative modifications.
Yeah, in your packet, you will see that there are administrative modifications from September and October. Administrative modifications are changes or revisions. These are usually small in nature, and that this board, this advisory committee, and the policy board have given staff authority to make those changes between meetings. So you can see the full listing of everything that was changed in September and October, and you can find that in your packet as well as we post those online. So there's no action today. It's presented for informational items only, as staff already has the authority to make those changes, but we always like to make sure that you know what was done between meetings. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Amy.
All right. Do we have any old business?
We have no old business.
Okay, then we'll jump right into the new business.
Yeah, and for our new business, Allison Reagan will be presenting a transportation resolution.
All right, good morning, everyone. So we just have one amendment to our transportation improvement program this month, and it falls under Transportation Resolution 34-22. This is an NDOT initiated project. It is at US 6 from State Road 104 to Georgia Street in the town of Washington. It's an HMA overlay, a hot mix asphalt overlay, and we are adding in preliminary engineering, right-of-way, and construction into the TIP with an estimated cost to complete of $2.7 million. You'll note that the construction phase amount is rather small compared to the total cost to complete, and that is because this is just for utility relocation. So the full construction amount will be in fiscal year 2027, but because our current TIP only looks from fiscal years 22 to 26, that is not being added right now. So happy to take any questions on this resolution. If not, I would ask for your endorsement of resolution 34-22.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 34-22 is endorsed. And we will move into our staff updates.
Alrighty, so I'm just going to run through three upcoming NDOT funding opportunities. So the first is NDOT's roll call for projects. So funding is available for projects outside of our urbanized area. And eligible projects include any new projects, so any road, bridge, safety, sidewalk type projects. And funding is available for all phases with construction to be bid in fiscal year 2028. So as early as July of fiscal year 2027, with the idea that awards will be announced kind of the February timeline. If you have any questions about this application or need help working through any of those, please feel free to reach out to myself or Caitlin. And then the next NDOT funding opportunity is NDOT is or will be issuing a notice of funding availability for local bridge preventative maintenance type projects on January 2nd. So this is a new program, and it is for preventative maintenance for bridges. It does not include any structural improvements. But to be eligible, LPAs must have an approved bridge asset management plan, and this must be submitted by December 16th to be eligible. And you can email those asset management plans to this web address I have here. So NDOT does have some good resources on their websites about what is required for a bridge asset management plan. But if any of our counties need help working through this, please feel free to reach out and can definitely provide our assistance there. And then the final NDOT opportunity, one we're all familiar with, is the Community Crossings Matching Grant Program, which is aimed at road and bridge preservation type projects. So this will open January 3rd. Will be open for the entire month of January. And to be eligible, LPAs must have an approved pavement asset management plan by December 1st. So I think we're helping roughly 10 communities right now get their asset management plans together. But if anyone needs assistance With this, please feel free to reach out. Again, the deadline for the asset management plans to LTAP is December 1st, and then the call will open in January. Any questions about those 3 funding opportunities? All right.
Thanks, Allison.
So just let Allison roll with the grant opportunities, but this is kind of just a running slide of some of the discretionary grants that are currently available through the U.S. Department of Transportation. So both of these are their deadlines are quickly approaching, but the first is the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvement Grant. So this is a grant that Napanee most recently used to improve 7 at-grade crossings throughout the city. And then the next opportunity is the Strengthening Mobility and Revolutionizing Smart Grant, which is due here in a couple of weeks, and it's intended for demonstration projects that focus on smart community technologies and systems. So if your communities are working through those and happen to need a letter of support or further assistance, please let us know, and we'll kind of just keep this updated as other notices of funding come out.
Okay. So next, wanted to give an update on our fiscal year 2022 annual listing of obligated projects. So as an NPO, we are required to produce an annual listing of projects for which funds have been obligated. We're required to produce this within 90 days of when the fiscal year changes. So the new state fiscal year began in July, so we had until September to produce this report. This whole listing is available on our transportation page on our website for your viewing. So this was our only requirement, and that is complete. But then we also like to do kind of a summary report that analyzes the obligations in different numbers. So still working on finalizing that report, but wanted to kind of present some high-level numbers that I found to be interesting throughout the report. So first, on this slide, you'll see figure 1. This is, okay, I guess backing up. Everyone know what an obligation, so an obligation is the federal government's commitment to pay their federal share of a project. So for FTA projects, obligations occur when the FTA grant is awarded, whereas with federal highway projects, obligations occur when the project agreement is executed and the state or MACOG agrees to commit those funds. So that's the FEMA's request. So figure 1 shows the total obligations in the MACOG region by sponsor. So you'll see that for local projects, there were obligations of about $23 million. For transit projects, there are obligations about $14.6 million. And then there was a teeny tiny piece, you can't even see it on there, for state projects. This doesn't mean that the state did not invest in any projects in our region. Mainly what this means is that state projects were funded with state funds rather than federal funds. So remember, with this report, we're just looking at federal obligations. So that's why that amount is so small. And then figure 2 here takes the local share, so the $23 million that we discussed, and breaks it down by county. So you'll see about 50% of the obligations for fiscal year 22 were in Elkhart County, about 21% were in St. Joseph County, about 17% were in Marshall, and then about 12% were in Kosciuszko County. If we could go back. I did want to note, so this does not mean that the state or MACOG prioritizes Elkhart County more than every other county. It really is just based on how projects fall. So we're talking about obligations for preliminary engineering, right-of-way, and construction. So for Elkhart County, for example, half of this obligation amount was for the construction phase of the Golden Avenue reconstruction. So this does change every year. I think last year St. Joseph County had the large share of the pie, but just want to note we love all 4 of our counties. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then this next figure here I've broken out the obligations by project type. So you'll see that for local road projects, there were 7 projects in our region with an obligation of $9.1 million. Bridge projects, there were 7 for $5 million in obligation. Intersections, there were 2 for $2.9 million. Safety, there were 4 projects for $2 million. Bike and pedestrian, there were 8 projects for $3.1 million. And this figure is pretty high compared to previous years. And this is largely because in 2019, Marshall County received the Stellar Communities designation. And so in fiscal year 2022, a lot of the preliminary engineering for sidewalk projects that they used the funding for were started. So that's why there's so many bike ped this fiscal year. And then finally, for traffic signals, there was 1 project for $1 million. That was the flashing beacons project in South Bend. Any questions on our annual listing of obligated projects for fiscal year 22? Thanks, guys.
Good morning. My name is Jeremiah Cox. I'm the Regional Transit Planner, and I'm here to discuss the current state where we currently are with the Connect Transit Plan. As you've been receiving updates throughout the year, we've already done 2 rounds of public engagement on this plan. The first focused on the public's preference for kind of overall questions about a shorter walk and a longer wait versus a longer walk and a shorter wait. The second focused on concepts of what the transit system would look like if we chose either a ridership model versus a coverage model, and then this winter we'll finally come up with the public engagement where we'll finally have this is our proposed network. And for that network, we're going to be, at the end of this month, releasing basically 2 visions. One will be the short-term 2-year vision, which is basically what we can implement today using the existing funds that we have for the transit system. And then we will have a growth vision, which would be if we're able to harness more funds to fund transit services, is what the system could look like, kind of in a very kind of fiscally responsible manner based on actually realistic funding opportunities compared to what we showed in the last round, which was much more of a, if we had everything, this is what we could do in the growth and vision concepts. Excellent. And I just want to make everyone aware of our upcoming events for this round of public engagement. The first one will be a final stakeholder advisory workshop, which will be holding on December 8th. And you should all, or those of you in St. Joe and Elkhart counties that receive transit service should be receiving invites very soon for that workshop. And then we will be having public open houses the first full week of January in all 4 of our major cities that have Transpo and interurban trolley service. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or Amy as well, since we've been partners in this project.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Privilege of the floor. Any questions or comments from anyone here in attendance or online? Any public comment received?
Don't see any public comment in the room. I'm not aware of any public comment emailed ahead of time. And is there any online?
I don't believe so.
So I don't believe we have a public comment today.
All right, thank you. Well, with no further items on the agenda, it would just be a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.